9 experienced hikers entered the mountains. Only one came back alive. Weeks later, rescuers found their tent ripped open from the inside. The group had fled into the freezing darkness, barefoot, without proper clothing. Some were found frozen to death, others had injuries investigators compared to a car's crash. One victim was missing her tongue. More than 60 years later, nobody can say with certainty what happened on that mountain. This is the mystery of Dyatlov Pass. January 1959, the Soviet Union was in the middle of the Cold War. Nuclear weapons were being developed. Military secrecy dominated the country. Across the world, tensions between East and West continued to grow. Far away from politics and military operations, a group of young hikers prepared for an ambitious winter expedition. The group consisted of students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They were not amateurs. Most were highly experienced skiers and mountaineers. Their leader was a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. The expedition was considered difficult, but achievable. Their objective was to cross a remote section of the northern Ural Mountains and earn advanced hiking certification. Originally, the group consisted of 10 members. But before reaching the most dangerous section of the journey, one member named Yuri Yudin became ill and returned home. That decision would save his life. The remaining 9 hikers continued into the wilderness. They had no idea they were walking into one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. The area they entered was isolated, cold, and unforgiving. Temperatures regularly dropped below -25 degrees Celsius. Strong winds swept across the mountains. Visibility could disappear within minutes. The group eventually reached the slopes of a mountain known as Khalat Sayakal. In the language of the local Mansi people, the name roughly translates to Dead Mountain. Years later, that name would become famous around the world. On February 1st, worsening weather conditions forced the hikers to stop and establish camp on an exposed slope. Some researchers believe they made a navigation error due to poor visibility. Others believe they intentionally camped on the slope to avoid losing altitude. Whatever the reason, they pitched their tent directly into the snow-covered mountainside. Photographs recovered later showed the group smiling and working together as they built camp. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing suggested danger. Nothing suggested that all 9 would soon be dead. Sometime during the night, something happened. Something serious enough to make experienced mountaineers abandon their shelter during a brutal winter storm. When search teams eventually discovered the campsite weeks later, they found something disturbing. The tent had been cut open from the inside, as if whoever was inside believed there was no time to escape normally. Even stranger, many personal belongings remained inside: boots, clothing, equipment. The hikers had fled into the darkness without properly dressing themselves. Footprints led away from the tent toward a nearby forest almost 1.5 kilometers away. The Tracks suggested the group had not been running wildly, at least not at first. Some appeared to be walking. Investigators followed the trail. Then, they found the first bodies. 2 hikers were discovered beneath a large cedar tree. They were barefoot. A small fire had been built nearby. It appeared they had desperately tried to survive the cold. Not far away, 3 more bodies were discovered, including Igor Dyatlov himself. They seemed to be attempting to return to the tent. They never made it. The first 5 victims appeared to have died primarily from hypothermia, but the mystery was only beginning. Months later, after the snow began melting, search teams discovered the remaining 4 hikers, and what they found transformed a tragic accident into one of history's greatest mysteries. Several of the bodies had severe internal injuries, broken ribs, massive chest, trauma, skull fractures, yet some showed surprisingly little external damage. Investigators compared the force of the injuries to a serious vehicle collision. One victim, Ludmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue. Others were missing soft tissue around the eyes and face. Immediately, rumors began spreading. People asked impossible questions. Had they been attacked? Had something hunted them? Was there another group in the mountains? Or was the Soviet government hiding something? The official Soviet investigation produced a strange conclusion. The hikers had died because OF, a compelling natural force. No further explanation was provided. The case was closed. For many people, that answer created more questions than answers. Over the decades, theories exploded across the world. Some believed the hikers encountered a Yeti. Others suggested UFOs. Witnesses in nearby regions reported strange orange lights in the sky during the same period. Some believed secret military weapons tests were taking place nearby. Cold War atmosphere only fueled suspicion. Then there was the radiation. Investigators found traces of radioactive contamination on some items of clothing. For conspiracy theorists, this became powerful evidence. Perhaps the hikers had witnessed something they were never supposed to see. Perhaps the Soviet military was involved. Perhaps the truth had been buried. But despite decades of speculation, evidence supporting these theories remained limited. When scientists began revisiting the case, one theory slowly started gaining support: the avalanche theory. At first, many researchers rejected it. The slope appeared too gentle. There were no obvious signs of a major avalanche, and some injuries seemed unusual. But modern research introduced a different possibility. Not a massive avalanche, a slab avalanche in 2021. Researchers used advanced computer simulations to examine the conditions present that night. Their findings suggested that the hikers may have accidentally created dangerous conditions when cutting into the snowpack to build their campsite. Strong katabatic winds could have slowly deposited additional snow above the tent over several hours. Then, sometime after midnight, part of the snow slab may have collapsed. Not large enough to bury the group completely, but large enough to create panic. Large enough to injure some members. Large enough to convince experienced hikers that remaining inside the tent was too dangerous. Suddenly, many pieces of the puzzle began fitting together. The cut tent, the rapid evacuation, movement toward the forest, the attempt to build a fire, the desperate effort to survive. Even some of the severe injuries became easier to explain, yet the mystery remains, because even today, not every question has been answered. Why were some injuries so unusual? Why did certain pieces of evidence seem inconsistent? Why did the Soviet investigation remain so vague? And why does this story continue to fascinate people across the world? Perhaps because Dyatlov Pass represents something deeper than a simple accident. It represents humanity confronting nature at its most unforgiving, a frozen wilderness, a dark mountain, a storm in the middle of the night, and 9 people who suddenly found themselves facing something they did not expect. Maybe the answer is an avalanche. Maybe it was a combination of weather, terrain, fear, and survival instinct. Or maybe some parts of the story will never be fully understood more than 60 years later. The snow has covered the mountain thousands of times, but the mystery remains, waiting in the cold, waiting in the silence, waiting on Dead Mountain.